Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Music Den. I'm your host Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good Friday. I have with me Mr. Ryan Gavalier. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm very good, just juggling.
Just juggling things, right? There we go. There we go. Inside joke, guys. Inside joke. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be ranking our favorite John Lennon albums. We're going to go through the John Lennon discography. There are not many albums, 8 albums in total. We're going to rank them from 8 to 1. All right. Now, John Lennon, as you all know, member of the Beatles, uh, unfortunately had his life cut short on December 8th, 1980. After leaving the Beatles, he had somewhat of an interesting recording career. I mean, released 8 albums. He had worked with people such as Harry Nilsson, David Bowie, Elton John, doing collaborations, wrote Fame with David Bowie and Carlos Alomar. Was also uh, under investigation by the FBI at one point while he was living in New York with Yoko Ono. And unfortunately, as I said, his life was prematurely cut short on December 8th, 1980. Again, we are going to take a look at his short, but some would say prolific recording career after the Beatles. So I will pass it over to Ryan to give us his number 8 in the catalog.
All right, just so we don't get in trouble in the comments too, we are ranking the 8 albums that are like song albums,
Yeah,
while being aware that he did make those 3 experimental studio albums with Yoko as well.
correct,
Those
correct. My
are
fault.
they're more like field recordings, so like um we're not going to talk about them today, even though like I think there's a charm to them. They're just you can't really rank them other than put them at the bottom because they're
That's
not
right.
music.
That's right. My correction, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are going to be ranking the 8 albums he did with Capitol and the one he did for with Geffen. Actually, the 2 he did with Geffen, uh, posthumous. So, and I will again pass over to Ryan to start us off.
All right. So my bottom album, I must say that like other than this album, I like all the rest of these albums. Like I think that John, while the qualities vary to these albums, I think that they're all good. I just don't like the one, and that's rock and roll. That's my bottom pick. Um, I mean, it's just like a cover album, basically. He didn't write any of the songs. It's just like old rock rock and roll songs and like some like R&B type stuff too. I mean, the version of Stand By Me is probably the most famous song off of the album. It was released as a single,
Yeah,
and
I
that's
would agree.
good. Like, it's not bad. It's nothing compared to Benny King, in my opinion, but it's decent, you know.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, like, I don't know. I don't really have too much to say about this. It's just it's not his songs. It's half-assed covers of songs I don't really care to listen to very often either. The production's only kind of decent on it, in my opinion.
yeah,
It's Phil and John. Like it's not a very good sounding album. It's kind of bland. It's very dated.
yeah,
Um, it kind of captures a lot of my least favorite aspects of John Lennon's solo career all in one album. So it's gonna be my bottom pick today.
yeah. Yeah, that's my bottom one too. That's my number 8. Again, released February 17th of 75. I kind of get the feeling that this album was sort of like a stopgap uh, for another album that he was working on that he did mention that he went as so far as to get um, Carlos Alomar to get a group of studio musicians together to do an album of original material. Um, but that album never came to fruition for some reason. Yeah, Stand By Me was one of the singles on it, and it's the most recognizable single from the album. It just seemed to be like a half-assed attempt to do cover versions. And apparently at one point, the when the recording sessions were done, Phil Spector disappeared with the tapes, with the master tapes apparently, and he got into a car accident when like with the tapes in the car, and it took a few months for John Lennon to get the master tapes back from Phil Spector and his people. So yeah, I mean, Beat Bopalula, Stand By Me, Rip It Up, You Can't Catch Me. It's like it isn't an album that I'd go back to. I mean, I'm sorry, I wouldn't even use it as a as a like as a placemat, on a table kind of a thing. I'm sorry, it is
It's
kind of
a very uninviting album cover
yeah,
too. I thought it was very boring.
yeah, yeah. There's no inventiveness. There's no reimagining. That's the new catchphrase these days for people who redo, you know, covers and stuff. There's no imagination in the way that these, no pun intended, okay, but there's no imagine, I know where you're going with that, but there's no imagination in terms of the way these songs are done. So yeah, that's my number 8 as well. um
Yeah.
yeah, rock and roll.
Imagine no imagination.
Yeah, exactly. It's easy if you try, whatever, okay. All right, your number
Even if
7.
you don't try.
Here we
Um,
go on. Go on.
my I honestly went back and forth of what I was gonna choose for my number 7. It's like
Yeah,
I said, the rest of these albums I think are all at least decent to good. Like I like John Lennon, um, him and Yoko, their work because she's on most of these albums too. Yoko is.
yeah, yeah,
I'd say over half of them she's on.
yeah.
Um, so my number 7 today, which could change too, it's gonna be sometime in New York City. Um, I mean, this isn't a bad album at all. Like I said, there's actually some really good stuff, and I like both John and Yoko on this album. I think both of them have some really good stuff on it. Um, it opens with the controversial song "Woman is the N-word of the world."
Yeah,
Um,
I can't say that word either. I really have an
I have
issue.
no interest,
Yeah,
but I get where they were going with the song. Um, you could definitely see the datedness, thinking it was cool to use a word like that. But
yeah,
that's also not why I don't really like the song. I just think it's a very cluttered sounding, badly produced track.
yeah,
It's not really catchy. Like I like the sentiment of it, like being kind of like a feminist song, but it's just very like tone deaf and misguided, honestly. It definitely sounds like um someone who shouldn't really be talking about politics.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, a self-righteous person talking about politics, basically.
yeah, yeah,
It's okay. I don't really like it though. I actually think Sisters of Sisters is a better track. I
yeah,
like that one. I like a lot of Yoko's output on this album. Attica State's pretty good. Born in a Prison's pretty good. New York City's good. Um, Sunny Bloody Sunday's okay in my opinion. It's not the best song with that title. That goes to you too.
yeah.
Um,
No, I
but
know.
it's decent. Um, and I would say like most of the other solo stuff is at least decent to good. The live side has some okay moments on it. Like I can listen to Cold Turkey anytime. I love that song. Um, I think it was weird that they had some of the like Zappa stuff on it too.
Yeah.
I just think it feels really out of place on the album. And I know that Zappa wasn't happy with the way it was recorded either, which I'd have to agree with him
Yeah,
about that.
and yeah, sorry, not to cut you off, but there was an issue with one of the songs um that that John and Yoko issued the copyright for, and they inadvertently took one of Zappa's songs and um got the copyright for it, and they didn't mean to, but
Yeah.
anyways, yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's not a very well produced album. Um, the songs are kind of hit and miss. It's better than people say it is. Like I've seen a lot of reviews calling it like one of the worst albums of all time.
Yeah.
It's like it's not that. It's just not great either. I'd
Yeah.
say at best it's a decent album. And I don't know. There is some tone deafness on it on a political level. But that's kind of what the hippies did, be tone deaf. Like I just think yeah, it's a valid part of the catalog. It's just definitely not one of the better moments,
Yeah.
in my
No.
opinion.
Yeah. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, we did not discuss our list whatsoever before doing this episode. That is my number 7 as well. Released June 12th of 72. Women is the, I can't even say that word. I can't even fathom saying that word. To me, that word is the same as calling me a cripple or a gimp. Do you know what I mean? I can't even fathom even having that word even put in print, even on an album cover. Like, given the times and stuff, I don't get it. To me, this album is a lot of white noise in terms of just the production of it, like the title, not the title track, but women, the first song, uh Sister or Sister is okay. Attica State's fine. Born in a prison, it's okay. It's not one that I would go back to at all. Like, I just, and John Sinclair is all right. The Luck of the Irish. I mean, putting down the Irish in the song, you're like, come on. I mean, it's like, it's not, it doesn't look favorably on the Irish at all in the lyrics. And it's like, I agree with you. I agree. There are certain people that should not bolster the political views when they really have no idea what they're talking about. Um, it's almost like they're talking to hear themselves speak. And yeah, it's not a memorable album. So yeah, that's my number 7. Sometime in New York. I just not no, it's not a good record. So
Yeah, I
so
agree. Um, so my number 6, um, which actually moved up for me as I was doing these listens. It's actually decent album in my opinion. It's the follow-up to Double Fantasy. Uh, it's the posthumous album um, after John died, obviously, from 1984. It's Milk and Honey.
mhm,
Um, I think that in the grand scheme of things, like I said, this is actually a pretty decent album.
yeah,
There's moments where the production's kind of dated, and I think that was something that hit me originally. Um, like on songs like I'm Stepping Out, which is a pretty decent song in my opinion.
yeah,
I think you just hear like I don't know if it's like the sound of like the piano or what. It feels very or the keyboards, it just feels not even quite 1984, but like like late 70s AOR kind of like at
Yeah, I
times.
got you.
It doesn't feel like, especially after Double Fantasy, which I think is a very well produced album. I
Yeah,
think
with
there's
Jack Richardson.
moments,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jack Douglas.
Oh, sorry, Jack Douglas. That's right. That's right. Keep thinking
Yeah.
Jack Richardson. Yeah. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Um, yeah, like I think that there's moments on it that feel kind of dated. Um, I would say John's material for the most part is really good. I mean, you have like Borrowed Time on here, which is an awesome song. When I was young, yeah. Like that's a good tune. That's catchy.
Yeah,
Um, like I said, I'm Stepping Out's a pretty decent song. Nobody Told Me is good. Um, Grow Old With Me is a really beautiful song, actually.
yeah,
The production does sound very different on that song compared to the rest of the album, but I think it's a gorgeous song.
yeah,
Um, Yoko's material, I think she has some decent stuff on here. Like I think Sleepless Night's good. Um, I think that Don't Be Scared is all right. The only issue I have with some of her stuff is like Oh Sanity is like a minute long. It just feels pointless.
yeah,
Um, you know, she has like a couple that are really short, like Let Me Count the Ways too. Like they're not terrible songs, but they're just so short that they just feel like they were kind of slapped into the album. And I don't really like the formula that they did on these albums of having Lennon song, Oh No song, Lennon song, Oh No song. It just feels kind of slapped together and lazy. And they did that too on Double Fantasy. It's like they
yeah.
should have varied up the sequencing a little bit more. Um, in
Mhm.
my opinion, but it's still a good album though. Like I like this album. I really enjoyed listening to it as I was going through all these albums again. It was better than I remembered. And in terms of like a posthumous album, I think it's one of the better you'll get. Like I think it's pretty good. I don't know. Um, but it is still my number six because there's a lot better albums to come.
Yeah, yeah. And again, it's my number six as well. I got we like did and Ryan is my witness. We did not talk about our list, did we?
Nope.
So yeah, it's my number six. I mean, released January 9th, 1984, through Polydor, with through an arrangement with Geffen Records. I like and I'm going on record as saying I am not a Yoko Ono fan. I don't like her vocals. I don't like the way she shrieks. I really don't. I mean, I'd rather hear a cat give birth. I swear to God.
I love
Um,
that.
I'd rather be sitting beside a cat while they're giving birth, because I know it's going to stop at some point. I really cannot get into her vocal delivery at all. But I mean, for a posthumous release, I'm Stepping Out was a good track. Nobody Told Me is a lead off single. I mean, I remember watching the video with the stock footage of him, the home movies of him and stuff, thinking, like he's gone, like, I mean, even at the age of 14, thinking the poor guy's gone, right? Like, what's going on here? Kind of thing. And, Borrowed Time is a great track. Um, Grow Old With Me, I agree with you. It's a beautiful song. Um, I do find that some of his, and I find this a bit odd. Okay, I do find that some of his songs on the album sound more like polished demos, whereas her material sounds more produced, more
Yeah.
more
Well,
clear, more up to date kind of thing, like more polished and mixed and produced. And do you know what I mean? Whereas,
it's I think it's just because she was alive to probably do more takes and stuff, whereas John wasn't.
yeah, I guess you could chalk it up to that. Yeah. I mean, it's a good album. And also, guys, all of these albums have been reissued with bonus tracks. um, through various, I believe, through Parlophone or through EMI. But yeah, that's my number 8, Milk and Honey. 6, sorry, Milk and Honey. Um, Moving on. What is your number 5?
All right. So at this point, in my opinion, we're now in the cream of the crop.
Yeah, I would agree. I would
This
agree.
top five here are all great albums, in my opinion, or at least very good. My number 5 is Mind Games, which was John's first like entirely self-produced album. He didn't have Phil Spector here. He didn't have Yoko helping with the production, which I am a Yoko fan. I think she's a talented songwriter. I think she's a talented producer. But I understand that she is an acquired taste. But on here, this is all John. Um, and I think there's some really, really good material on this album. There's also some mid, in my opinion. Nothing really bad though, in my opinion. Um, the title track, Mind Games, is one of my all-time favorite John Lennon songs. Like,
Yeah.
there's a list of songs that I have throughout his career that just make me cry, honestly. I'll say it on the internet. They make me cry because it just makes me
Yeah.
realize how like majorly of a loss
Yeah.
um there was with John, and just like, yeah, he was an imperfect person. He could even be an asshole, but like I think that there's a list of songs where you really see like his heart, and you see that he he was still a well-intentioned person and a person who's trying to do better and stuff. And I think that you can hear that heart in some of those songs, and this one's one of them. Those melodies, that intro, that like with the whatever that is, I guess it's his guitar. It's a very like unorthodox sound. Like it's
Yeah.
very creative. But then he goes into those vocals, and I love when it goes into the chorus of yes is the answer.
Yeah.
When
Love
he's
is the answer. Yeah. Yeah.
it's love is the answer, yeah, whatever it is. I'm terrible with lyrics, but
Yeah.
I
No,
know
no,
them.
no. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
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 Um, but it's just so beautiful, and like you can just he wears his heart on his sleeve with his voice. I
Very much
think that
so.
he did more than any other Beatle, in my opinion. Like John was always the one. I feel like he was like the sensitive guy, you know.
Yeah.
And you could really hear it. And um, so yeah, that song absolutely beautiful. One of my favorites by him of all time. Tight As is probably one of the mid tracks for me. It's kind of like rock and rolly. I think it's a decent track. The lyrics are kind of goofy. It has an okay riff. It's just it feels very like regressive, especially after a song like Mind Games. It feels like it'd be like a Beatles outtake, sort
Yeah.
of.
You mean like a step backwards kind of a thing? Like,
Yeah, it just feels
yeah.
like it's like a earlier type of track for him.
Yeah. I
I'm
gotcha.
sorry. I think it's a beautiful song. I have that on my playlist of like various artists. Like I think that's a beautiful, beautiful song. Bring on the Lucy's pretty good. Um, Out the Blue, I love that song a lot. That's a really great John Lennon
Hmm.
performance there. He hit
Hmm.
some good like falsetto notes on that one. Intuition's pretty good. I think that's another really kind of beautiful song. Meat City's okay, in my opinion. I don't really care for that one too much. That's like another kind of like rock and rolly type of song. Um, and the rest I'd say like is like decent music. Like I think it's good. Like I said, there's nothing on here that I would really point out as like a bad track. I just think that compared to the albums that are coming forward, it's not overly memorable all the time. And I know that John himself wasn't entirely happy with the album either. Um,
Yeah.
um, Nor was a lot of people, honestly. Like I think I actually like it more than a lot of reviews have given it. Like I know that people see it as like a huge misstep. I don't quite see it as that. I just think that you can't put out a plastic going over and imagine over and over and over and over again. Like there's going
Mhm.
to be some variation. And I think that if this is one of the more uneven albums, it's still pretty damn good.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I
And it
understand.
has one of the greatest songs of all time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you. Um, I agree with you. It is a good album. It is a good album.
Mhm.
Um, is it a great album? It's debatable, but it's a strong album. Um,
Mhm.
but we must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. Um, my number five is Double Fantasy. Um, released November 17th, 1980. His first release for Geffen Records. Um, it's basically double billed Yoko Ono and John Lennon album. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm only gonna focus on the John Lennon tracks. I'm sorry. This is the first album, John Lennon album that I ever owned. My sister Anna bought this for me when it came out. Songs like just like starting over, Woman, which I think is a a beautiful love song, just a beautiful love song, which was one of the singles released from the album. Beautiful Boy, um, which ends side one, Watching the Wheels, and songs. Also I'm Losing You. I think it's a good album on those songs. The Yoko Ono stuff like Kiss Kiss Kiss, forget it. I'm sorry. Fucking chalk nails on a goddamn, like nails on a chalkboard. I can't do it. Can't do it. I just can't do it. Can't do it. It's too much for me to listen to. But it is a shame that this is the last album that he would release before his murder. Um,
I don't even think it got released before he died. Wasn't it? Didn't he die a couple weeks before it came out? Or
he
was it?
died December 8th. We can double check.
Hold on. Oh no, it was released in November. It was a couple weeks before he died. That's what it
Before
was.
he died. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, again, it's a good album. It's a strong album from Lennon's tracks on it. It would be interesting to see where he would have gone,
Yeah.
continuing recording for Geffen or whatever label that he was signed to at the time. Um, but unfortunately, that was not meant to be. So we are left with Double Fantasy. Um, yeah, that's my number five. So moving on.
All right. So my number four is Double Fantasy. Um, I didn't realize how much I liked this album until recent time. Like it was also one of the first albums I'd heard by him and her. And I liked it growing up,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt like it was a lot more uneven. But as I've been listening to it the last couple months, I've really been enjoying it a lot. Um, First of all, just like starting over is beautiful. I think that's like one of John Lennon's best like old timey type of tracks. Feels like a kind of like rock and rolly, doo-woppy type of song. He even does like a little bit of a
Mm.
character voice, kind of like an
Yeah,
Elvis type of voice or something like that, which is sweet.
yeah,
I don't know. It's when I see you, darling. It's just
yeah.
such a classic performance
Like a
by him.
doo-wop, kind of like a doo-wop feel.
Yeah, I love it. Good backing vocals on it too.
Yeah,
Um,
and the guitars too, like the rhythm guitar on it. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I love Kiss Kiss Kiss. That's a
Okay.
classic in my opinion. Um, and I mean, like, it shows what's to come with Yoko. A fun fact I found out recently: Yoko is actually the 16th best-selling dance club artist in the U.S.
Yoko Ono is?
She is.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay. Okay.
I think a song like this is kind of a maybe predecessor to that. She would get into more dance type of music later on. But I can jam out to this one. It's a cool, like, I don't know, like post disco type of track. I dig it. Kind of new wavy. I don't know. I feel like she was always forward thinking, which I appreciate.
Okay.
Um, Cleanup time, pretty good. Not like a classic for me. Neither is Give Me Something. I'm Losing You. Growing up, this was one of the first John Lennon solo songs I ever heard, and
Hmm.
I thought it was badass. I love
Yeah.
that lead guitar on it. I love the weird like sound effects. It just felt like the most like before I even knew what a drugged out song was, it just felt like a fucking drugged out song. And I don't think he even was at this point. Like I think he was sober by the time that this album was out, or at least California sober. Like I don't know if he was like 100%, but like he was past his darkest times.
Yeah.
But this
Yeah.
song, you're like, holy shit, this is trippy as hell.
Hmm.
And like
Hmm.
I love his vocals on it. It's really emotional, it's really angry, it's very like paranoid and stuff.
Yeah.
I just think it's a classic song. And then Yoko comes in with I'm Moving On, which is kind of like a follow up, like a like an alternate version of I'm Losing You.
Yeah.
It's obvious it's inferior, but I think it's a cool little production move that they did that. It helps the album flow. That's the thing about this album. It never stops. Like it just feels like it's going in a constant stream of consciousness, even though it is the two of them.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's better than Milk and Honey because it does flow together very well.
Yeah.
Beautiful Boys, an absolutely beautiful song. God damn, every time I hear it, it almost makes me cry. It's just so
Yeah. It used to have that effect on me as a kid. Yeah.
yeah, I just think it's absolutely gorgeous.
Hmm.
Watching the Wheels, that's one of my favorite John Lennon songs of all time. I just remember being like a kid and hearing that song and it was just like one of the happiest things I had ever heard. I
Yeah.
just thought it was um so good. And that song's on that list where I'm just like, this was a really, really special artist here. And it makes me emotional. It makes me think of being a kid and being so happy about that song. And it's just also just a beautiful one. I mean, like knowing that like he died like a couple weeks after the album too, it just makes it really emotional. It's a great side two opener. Um, yes, I'm Your Angel. It's okay. I mean, it's solid. Woman, beautiful song once again. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's just so many songs on this album that are like heartstring Lennon tracks. It's so
Yeah.
weird that he died right after it. 'Cause it's just
Uh,
like most of his tracks are like making you emotional as hell, and like I don't know, it's like a weird prediction type of thing. Like,
I hear what you're saying. I agree. I agree with what 100% with what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, Beautiful Boys is okay. Yoko is okay. The rest of the album's pretty much just okay to me, but like nothing's bad on it, in my opinion. Like I think it's a strong album.
Hmm.
Um, I definitely think that although I like some of Yoko's material a lot on it, especially Kiss Kiss Kiss, I do think that John's material being as strong as it is, it obviously outweighs Yoko's material. Um, Whereas I feel like because I like Yoko's solo albums a lot. Like I think when she is able to show what she could do on her own, I think it's often a lot stronger.
Yeah.
But when you have like her songs on here versus like watching the wheels, of course John's is going to be the stronger material.
Yeah.
Like, like I just think that this has quite a few of my favorite songs by John Lennon. It's a really emotional album for me. And even saying that with Yoko's material, it's all very listenable to me still. I
Yeah.
could put this album on, I can enjoy it the whole way through. Um, and that's why it's my number four.
Okay. All right. Um, yeah, just in closing on Double Fantasy, it kind of, to me anyway, it kind of feels like in his lyrics, he's saying, without, there's like a subtext of him saying, I realize what I've done and where I've been, and I'm going to do better from now on. Trust me, believe me, please.
Yeah, and that's
Only,
why it's so emotional.
yeah, only for the fact that it was too late. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
um, okay, I'm gonna get emotional right now. I'm not gonna go there because
yeah,
I get emotional about it. Um, we must carry on, ladies and gentlemen. My number four is Plastic Ono Band. Um, released December 11th, 70. Um, good album. Good, good. I guess I should say is his first album. In terms of solid music, not experimentation, like, as we were talking about at the top of the show. Songs like Mother, Hold Me, I Found Out, Working Class Hero, Remember. They're all, these are all solid songs like Isolation, Love, Well, 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 it's all right. Look at Me, God, and like the last track, My Mummy's Dead. I mean, like, it's only a few seconds, it's like 50 some odd seconds, but it's you kind of get the feeling like even at that point he was still a little child when it came to his family, when it came to his mom, when his father and his mom, whatever. Like it it was almost like he was like exercising some old demons from his past with this album. I think it's a good album again. A lot, and this was going to be lower on my list. This was going to be like around number 8. But when I was hearing the other albums, I'm like, oh no, 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 no. This one's going to go up. So on the list. So yeah, that's my number 4, Plastic Ono Band.
excellent. We'll talk about that one more later. Um,
Okay.
'Cause my number three today is Walls and Bridges. Um, Incredibly strong album. This one feels very personal, feels very honest. You have a good variation of sounds.
Yeah.
You have some softer stuff, some really tender songs like Bless You or Old Dirt Road, which was written by him and Harry
Harry
Nilsson.
Nielsen.
You
Yeah.
know, you have some rockers like What You Got. That's like one of the heaviest Lennon tracks. That riff rocks. You got
Yeah.
Scared on here, which is another kind of like softer type of track.
Mm-hmm.
Number nine, Dream. Um, Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out. That's a fantastic track. I feel like this album it was also a self-produced album by John. Didn't have any help with this one. I think it's a lot more successful um with with the sound overall than Mind Games. I think that he kind of figured out um I guess how to get a balanced sound with the instruments and stuff. There's still some moments. I think maybe in I'm trying to think. It might be in Going Down in Love. Starts off kind of distorted. That might like a little bit with like all the instruments at once. You kind of had that wall of sound,
Yeah,
but it sounds cool in my opinion. Um, you know, I just think it's like one of those songs. It's one of those albums where like I don't so much look at it for the individual tracks. It's just like when you put it on, it takes you on kind of an emotional journey.
yeah,
And there is some classics on it too, but I just feel like when it comes to making a personal album, it's only topped by one in terms of just like laying it all out and being honest, and we'll get to that. But I just feel like there's a good variation of sound, but like rockers, soft tracks, etc. It's just a very well balanced John Lennon album. I think it's some of his stronger material.
yeah,
Um, Not the strongest in my opinion, which is why it's at number three, but I love it. It's a great album.
yeah,
It's one that I want to spend more time with too. Because for a long time I kind of like pushed it to the side. Not that I didn't like it, it was just that there was a few that I liked a lot more. But when we were going through this exercise and I was listening to it again, I was just reminded by how strong the album is.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so it's my number three today. Really, really good stuff. Um, Number nine, Dream. Obviously, I like I like the opening guitar on that one. It has a it actually like has kind of like a George Harrison type of feel with that like whatever that is slide
Yeah,
guitar, but
yeah,
it's not George. I think it looks like the guy's name is Jesse Ed Davis playing the guitar on the song.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but it definitely sounds like a George Harrison type of feel, and I think it's a really good opener or opening to that song. My favorite song on it is Bless You, though. That's always been like a really emotional song. It's very trippy.
yeah.
Um, yeah, number three for me, Walls and Bridges.
It's a good pick. Yeah, it's a good album. Um, my number three is Mind Games. Um, Released October 29th, 1973. This was the start of his separation from Yoko Ono, the what was later dubbed as the Lost Weekend, um, when apparently he and Yoko were going through some marital issues and they decided to separate. And according to Mei Peng, it was Yoko who orchestrated their getting together so she could keep tabs on what was going on with John kind of a thing. So I mean, let's call a spade here. I'm sorry. It is what but this is a good album. Mind Games, a title track. I mean, come on. Uh just the guitar, the drums, the whole orchestration of the track, the whole arrangement, the whole production. Um, it's beautiful. I mean, just that wall of sound that comes out of the speakers, that the textures on that track. This is my sister Carmela, who passed away. This is her favorite song ever. Um, and I remember we had for my brother-in-law, who's also passed away, my ex-brother-in-law, he had a copy of Shaved Fish, the compilation, the greatest hits, and Carmela would always play Mind Games, and she would just sit there on the couch and just listen to it. And it was like she was staring off into space, and it was like she just loved this track. Other songs of note, Tight As. Um, Also, One Day at a Time is good. Bring on the Lucy is another good one. Intuition, Out the Blue. Just a bunch of good songs This was, if I remember correctly from the notes, the first one he did without Phil Spector. Like he wanted to go on his own and do stuff.
Yeah.
Other songs, I know, You Are Here. I agree with you. Meat City is like, all right, whatever. It's not one of the better ones, but you know what? The other songs make up for it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's my number three. Mind
Nice.
games. Mind games, yeah. Moving on.
Um, Good pick. I'm glad to see that high on the list for you. My number two is Imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Absolutely stunning album. I mean, the title track, I think is definitely one of my favorite songs of all time. Even though I even though I said that maybe John shouldn't be talking about politics at time, I think he got it right on this one. I think this is a good universal message here. I mean, everybody might not agree with it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I think that his intention was there. Um, I think his heart was in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I just think like the way it talks about greed, the way it talks about war and division, it's a song that will always resonate with me.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's a song that always makes me want to do better, makes me want to see better for the world. I just think the way the drums come in, I think that's Alan White on the drums on that song.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I do believe you're right. Yeah.
Let me make sure before. Yes, it is Alan White. Um, the way that they come in, that and
Yeah.
that
The drum fill in. Yeah.
with his yeah, with his vocals, the bass comes in too, which is Klaus Bormann, fantastic musician.
Yeah.
Um, it's just absolutely beautiful. I love his falsetto notes he hits on here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that bridge that you must say, I'm a dreamer, or is that whatever that is, bridge chorus? I guess like, eh,
I think it ends the yeah, I think it is a bridge, but
I would call it a bridge because the chorus is like the imagine all the
because it
people.
leads into yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Um, Man, it's just that gives me chills every time. This is definitely one of those songs that'll put a tear in my eye. I've heard people try to change the lyrics before. It's like not really interested in that.
Yeah.
I just love the song for what it is. Crippled Inside is a song that took some time to grow on me, but I
Mm-hmm.
do like it more now. It's kind of like an older, kind of like folky type of song. It kind of feels like a Bob Dylan type of song. Um,
Yeah.
Sort of. Jealous Guy is one of my favorite John Lennon tracks. I feel like that's a pretty confessional one. It's really sad. Puts, I mean, it kind of shows his imperfections and stuff, but I think it's very beautiful and raw. It's so hard. It's really good. I Don't Want to Be a Soldier is another classic. Um, Give Me Some Truth, really good stuff. Oh My Love is absolutely beautiful. How Do You Sleep is actually probably my favorite song on this album. Even as much as I just gushed about Imagine,
Yeah.
this song is so good. It rocks. And it's like, I think it's one of John's best riffs of all time, one of his best vocal performances of all time. It just kicks ass. How is really good stuff. And I know that Oh Yoko gets a lot of hate for some reason. I don't know why, because I think it's a really beautiful song, in my opinion. I think it's really sweet, and I have always liked singing along to it. I don't know. This album for me top to bottom is just fantastic. It's one of the greatest albums of all time. It was engineered by Jack Douglas. This was actually one of his first engineering credits of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Produced by Phil, Yoko, and John.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just think, it's a top of the line album. This is like a 10 out of 10 record for me. The only reason it's not my number one is because I like the next one even more. But number two is Imagine.
Mm-hmm. No, it is. Um, that is my number two as well. Um, again, released September 9th of 1971. For some people, this is their favorite John Lennon album. I mean, um, I, I don't understand why people take such issue with the title track. I mean, he's basically saying, just imagine if, like, since when was it against the law to think or to have an opinion about something?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people people just got so upset about it. I mean, but I mean, I think it's a good simple, not simple. I don't mean, when I say simple, I don't mean it in a bad way. I'm not demeaning the song. I just think that it's a good, simple, lovely message.
Yeah.
What if we could all live together in peace and there were no problems, kind of a thing. Uh, Crippled Inside is another another great song. Jealous Guy, you know, he's basically saying, I'm flawed, like we're all flawed. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. Please forgive me, you know. It's So Hard is another good one. I Don't Want to Be a Soldier. Again, this is him sharing his displeasure about the war. Give Me Some Truth. It's like he's basically saying, uh, I want someone to give me the straight goods. I don't want people around me that are just yes people, like yes men, like, oh, whatever, John, whatever you say, it's okay. No, give me the straight shit. I'd like to know the honest truth. If it's something that, if I've done something that you don't agree with or whatever, you know what? Just tell me. You know, I think there should be more of that lately myself. But um, Oh My Love is, it's all right. It was a good song. How Do You Sleep? It is one of the best songs in the album, along with the title track and Jealous Guy. I think, you know, that is a good song. And How is another good one. Oh, Yoko. Well, you know what? He was enamored with Yoko Ono. I mean, and it seeped into his music. I mean, it came out of his pores, for God's sake, of how much he loved her. And like it or not, there was a time when they were inseparable. So, I mean, the influence is going to come out, right? And um, this album did receive the reissue, remastered treatment a few years back, and it's still
Yeah.
available to get. So,
The
yeah, that's
ultimate mix. The
sorry.
ultimate mix.
Oh
There's
yeah.
something called the ultimate mix. That's so good. You really hear the difference too. It's
Okay.
like, so I've listened to the songs back to back. Like, imagine the original or even past remasters with the ultimate mix, and it's like, holy crap, they brought out a whole new level of sound.
Really? Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
I gotta check that out. And so yeah, no, that again, that's my number two. Imagine.
All right.
Number
Excellent.
one, Moment of Truth.
Plastic Ono Band. This is one of the most influential albums of all time to me. I absolutely love this album. Um, it is like the ultimate confessional album. He made this album in a period where he was doing primal scream therapy. He was getting over a lot of demons in his life, and he just
Yeah.
let it out.
Yeah.
and you feel it all over this album. It is truly one of the saddest, most emotional, and
It
most
is.
honest albums of all time.
It's
Um,
gut-wrenching.
yeah, like Mother, Jesus Christ. Talk about a song that makes you cry. Like it's you feel the heartbreak because he's like howling
Yeah.
throughout this song and like
Yeah.
Mother, you had me, but I never had you.
Yeah.
Like that is a line and a half there. Like,
That is naked truth.
yeah, Father, you left me, but I never left you. Like, that's just, it doesn't get better than that. Like,
That's
it's,
guttural. It is, and not to cut you off, it is guttural. It is just holy.
yeah. You have a
Yeah.
great rhythm section, great piano too, really
Mhm.
haunting piano on that song, honestly. Like, the whole thing is just one of the most haunting songs ever made. Like there's just been times where that one's just made me bawl because it's
Mhm.
just so real. Um, Hold on, good stuff there. I found out it's a good rocker. Um, there's some really heavy stuff on this album actually.
Mm.
Working Class Hero, I like this song a lot, but it's actually probably my least favorite song on the album.
Yeah.
Um, it does feel very much like a Bob Dylan type of track, which I like.
Mhm.
But I don't know. There's something about that one that like isn't quite as effective to me as the rest of the album. Isolation, absolutely gorgeous. Remember is great. Love is great. Well, Well, Well is one of my favorite John Lennon songs of all time. That's
Mhm.
heavy. That's like when you think of like a lot of the like alternative rock bands that came out later on, or um
Yeah.
I think of like Arctic Monkeys and stuff. I feel like you could definitely hear an influence with that guitar sound on here, that heavy riff.
Yeah.
And just great melody on here. I like how the guitar kind of follows along with his voice too. Like the lead guitar, that's really trippy and cool. Look at Me is real good. God might be it's one of my favorite John Lennon songs of all time. Um, I can't say I agree with every lyric of the song. There's a couple. I mean, it was definitely a song that was meant to shock. It was
Yeah.
a song that was meant to show he was against everything. I can agree with a lot of it, but I won't say I agree with everything he said in it. But I
Mhm.
definitely agree with the sentiment. Like, um, we spend so much time believing in all this like systematic shit, but we don't spend enough time believing in ourselves. I really feel like what the
Yeah,
song
that's true.
about, and I completely agree with him, honestly. Like, um, it's just one of those songs that's so emotional to me. Um, it's so honest, it's so raw. I just love when he goes into I don't believe in blank, 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 10 million different things. And then
Yeah.
he just says, I just believe in me, just Yoko and me. Like that's just so beautiful the way it goes into
Yeah.
that transition, into that dum, 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 dum,
Well,
dum, dum.
especially when you said, I don't believe in Beatles.
Yeah, I don't believe in talent. I don't believe in magic. Don't believe in all kinds of different things. It's just like damn it, John. Like you're just laying it out there and like
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I love it. It's absolutely fantastic. And then the album ends with My Mummy's Dead, which is like lo-fi. It's so haunting.
Yeah.
Shows you this whole album takes you on a journey. Um, just an emotional journey into like what he was feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
He's not afraid to show that he's an asshole. He's not afraid to show that he has a lot of demons. He just put it all out there. And yeah, I think it's one of the greatest albums of all time. And also, you think of the lineup on it. You got John, Ringo, Klaus Voormann, Phil Spector, Billy Preston, Yoko Ono, and Mel Evans. So much talent here. It's like
Mhm.
absolutely insane. Um, I mean, yeah, just one of the greatest albums of all time. And it's definitely my favorite John Lennon album. It has been for years.
Mhm.
I don't see that ever being changed either because it just hits me in a very certain way.
I agree. It's a very emotional album. You do go through a journey, you know, on that record. You hit the lowest of the lows in terms of the way he was feeling and what he wanted to get out uh, emotionally on it. And again, these lists might change with me. This list with me might change, I should say, ladies and gentlemen. So, but in terms of what the number one is, but right now, my number one is Walls and Bridges, released September 26, 1974. It's a strong album musically for me. I mean, songs like Going Down on Love, uh, the duet with Elton John, Whether It Gets You Through the Night, um, Old Dirt Road with written with him and Roy Nilsson. Fantastic track itself. What You Got, that's a heavy track, right? I mean, and Bless You, like you said, beautiful song. Scared um is another one. For me, I've always loved Number Nine Dream.
Oh yeah.
Very ethereal vocal delivery, very sort of like um you're sort of wrapped you're sort of wrapped up in the arrangement, like the music surrounds you, kind of thing. Like you're taken away on a journey on this track. Just the way the
Yeah.
arrangements are. Surprise, Surprise is another one, another good song. Stealing Glass is another good song. Beef Jerky, well, it's all right. I mean, it's okay. Um, Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out. Ain't that the truth? I mean, like, you know, and finishing it with Yeah Yeah. And according to the notes I read, it's got Julian Lennon on drums, right? So yeah, no, that's my number one. And um again, recorded during his lost weekend period with May Pang, right? So I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, it is what it is, right? So yeah, that's my number one. I can't say some of his albums that I like all of the tracks, but he's got enough strong material to on each of the albums to get you through the album, kind of a thing, right? Like they do carry you through. So so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's our list of John Lennon albums, 8 to 1. Um, I know you gotta get going, Ryan. So do you have anything coming up with what you're working on, or?
Um, would greatly appreciate you checking out my new solo album, Ryan Gavalier's Night of the Living Dead,
That's right.
um, based off the 1968 George Romero movie, which happens to probably be my favorite horror movie. It's 9 tracks, it's like 45 minutes or something like that. It's
Yeah,
a
not
pretty
very
good
long.
length album.
Yeah,
Um, it's instrumental, but it goes through a lot of different genres like progressive rock, electronic, a little bit of fusion, some metal, some ambient music, etc. There's wide instrumentation from guitars, bass, uh, strings, brass,
yeah.
synthesizer, etc. It's like it's pretty nuts.
It's a good album, guys. It's available through Gavalier Productions. I will put a link in the description um, to Cavalier Productions website so you can get the album. You can also get it, I believe, on Bandcamp as well.
Yeah, and it's also on all major streaming, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon,
Cool.
etc.
Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's great. It is. It's a fantastic um it's a fantastic sort of Halloween themed album to add to your collection. Believe me, listen to it with the lights on. I promise you. Okay. And make sure that the couch, if you're sitting on a couch or any type of a chair, it's up against a wall. Okay. And then no one can get up behind you because this thing will scare the shit out of you if you're susceptible to that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's good. No, please check that out. And so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is our list of ranking the John Lennon discography. Please down there in the comments, down there, down below, please list your favorite John Lennon albums. You'll go and include it if you want. I want to thank Mr. Ryan Gavalier for joining me on this episode. It was a
Yeah.
fun episode. Ryan and I are going to be doing another episode at some point, having an album discussion on Stevie Nicks' debut solo album, Belladonna. It's going to be a real interesting discussion. I will be doing an episode with Bill Schuster and Peter Kent tomorrow evening on our top 10 deep cuts from Queen. That's going to be a really good episode. So, and more videos coming up. I'm going to be doing a review on the new Duran Duran album, Dance Macabre. Believe me, it's a good album. I've listened to it already a couple of times. It is really good. If you want an ass shaker of an album, this is one for you. So from Mr. Ryan Gavalier, I am Armando Venditti. Hoping you guys are having a good Friday. Please look after yourselves and one another. And if you're in a part of the States or in Canada or wherever else in the world that is bloody freezing like it is here in Edmonton, keep warm, please. So we will see you soon with another video. Bye for now.